And I am very proud at this point to be joined by a guy who can literally make me laugh out loud. He's the author of a great new book, How Dare You Say, How Dare Me. I love that title. That's a great title. Legendary comedian Pat Cooper. Pat, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Nice to talk to you, and Happy New Year, my friend.
Yes, this is a tremendous thrill for me, Pat. You really are. There are so few legends left in this world of reality television, but you're one of them, so I'm very thrilled.
Well, you're very kind, but it's very difficult over the years to get on these talk shows, and I could never understand. Not that I'm angry because I've had a great career. I cannot understand that they'll put people on the talk shows that really don't mean anything. And I'm talking about the Kardashian family that was on the other day on Regis Philbin and Kelly, but Regis, of course, is no longer there. And then I'm talking about a man that has went to jail because he was into dog fighting, and they're paying him $100 million now to throw a football. And I'm saying, where's the society going? How can these kids turn around and look at the television and go to college to try to do something decent, and they find out what's going on is the more you're not a nice person, the more they raise the price. And I'm on my way out. I'll be 83, so, I mean, I've had a great career. I'm not complaining, but it just annoys me. Where's the sanity anymore? I wrote the book because it's about time somebody wrote a book and just said, this is my life, this is the truth, and I got reviews. I can't write them myself. And, every day there's 100 books come out in this country, so it's an uphill battle. I didn't do it for money. That I'll tell you. I just did it because I want people to read this thing, and I want young people to read it also and say, gee, here's a guy with no education that can become a name performer in this country. And I didn't go out to become a star. I just went out to make a living. And I did, and they made a hell of a living. And I want kids who go to college today to understand I respect that. But my daughter went to college to become a school teacher. She makes $36,000 a year. I made that last night. Mm. So where's the sanity?
Pat, that's very interesting that you bring that up. What do you hope is the one thing, the most important part of your book that people take away? What maybe chapter or passage do you really hope people read with a very keen eye?
Well, toward the end, I tell it the way it is. It cost me a family. It cost me a family to do something that I loved. And unfortunately, being born in an Italian family, my parents coming, my dad came from Italy. There's no humor, from Italy. Years ago, you worked Monday to Friday. You got paid Friday night. Saturday, you went shopping. And Sunday, you ate macaroni. And that's nothing wrong with that. But I was a young guy who had a big mouth. I had a great natural ability to be funny. And they thought there was something wrong with me. And when I got married and put 2 kids on this earth, the woman that I married, and I don't hate her, but I don't dislike her, she didn't understand me. And I said, I got to do something rather than just lay around driving a cab or laying bricks. So I got to put myself in front, and it's going to cost me. And sure as God made apples, it cost me my family. My mother, my father, my kids, and my grandkids from my first marriage. So I want the people out there to know nothing comes easy. I paid the piper, but I would have done it faster, because if I did not pay the piper and do what was in my heart, I would have turned around, and I don't think I'd have lasted 60 years old. I'd have threw myself out the window because I had a tremendous drive. And Italian people from Italy in those days were wonderful people, but you got to go to work, don't you know? And if you said something funny at the table, you were disrespectful. If it was a Jewish family, you said something funny. I'm not a Milton Berle.
Yeah.
So the culture was all the Jewish comics that I watched and observed, and it's in their genes, and they're wonderful. But at that time, there was no Italian comics.
Pat, I'm glad you touched on this to a degree, and you, very honest gentleman, you said this business cost you a family, this path. And for people, I mean, we're not going to make a lot of light of it here because I don't think you need to, but if people search you on the internet, they will find that your son has written a book that's not very flattering to you, and there's an interview out there, I believe, with your mother who's since passed away that your son did that was not flattering. I understand...
That's okay. I'm not against that, but this is 50 years. So the last time I sent them a message, I says, when I die, who are you going to hate? Well, I mean, listen to me. I made mistakes, of course. But what they don't understand is I'm an individual, and to turn around and lock me up mentally and don't understand there's two sides. Of course I walked away, but I didn't desert. I lived around the corner when I walked away. They could have saw me or found me. My biggest mistake was getting popular and going on Jackie Gleason. And when they saw me on Jackie Gleason, they saw the money. And when they took me to court, they saw nothing. Because I only got $500-$600 for Jackie Gleason. They were suing me for millions. Not because they're stupid. They didn't understand. They were so shocked that they turned my kids against me. And I said, okay, so you know what I'm going to do before you turn my kids against me? Goodbye, because I'm not going to be a part of that. So now they're happy. I got a daughter I haven't seen in over 40 years. I got grandkids I'll never see. And all I would have done is help them and do something wonderful for them. But you know something? The hate and jealousy. How do you put in the debt, in the paper, in the debt, that my father died and left 3 daughters? So when my older sister called me about 7 months ago, I says, how can you call me when your father said he left 3, when you said that my father left 3 daughters? So that means I'm not your brother. What the hell are you calling me for? How dare you put me down like that? How dare you? And they didn't know what to say. So, they said, well, you ought to be ashamed. No, I'm not ashamed. I'm proud. I got a second family, 45 years. I'm proud. So if you want to still hate, that you got the problem. I'm glad my son wrote a book. He's entitled. He's entitled to write, but he don't understand.
You know, Pat, the question I have about that very generally is that you say yourself that it cost you a family, but not all families have to come out and sue their fathers or try to profit from their father. Why do you think your family did that? Was it just pure greediness?
Well, I don't know. No, I'm going to defend them here. Okay. They don't know. I mean, look at how silly this is. I got a woman got a summons to come to court. Her name was Pat Cooper. So the guy that gave it to her, she was in a play called Boys from Syracuse. He don't see her. He said, I went to Pat Cooper's. He's in a play, and he put it in the mailbox. And the woman got in touch with me. I said, your name is what? She says, I'm Pat Cooper, and I got a summons to go to court. My lawyer said, I can't believe that. So when we went to court, and she was there, and I was there, and the judge says, where's Pat Cooper? The both of us stood up. And this is like a movie. I'm saying this is how stupid they are. And even the guy that served the summons said he gave it to me. So it goes to show you the anger and the hate. They become blind instead of sitting back and saying, listen to me. This man was my husband. We got 2 children. Let you mind your business, your family and my family. I want to sit down with my husband and let's see what we can do for our children. Not your children, our children. And they turned around and said, these are my kids. Goodbye, because you're not going to put me in jail and you're not going to get me aggravated. I got to get a heart attack. You people can't do this to me. And I went on to be successful. They never got a dime. They never got a dime. How dare they not use their brains? And they had 5 lawyers who didn't collect a dime because they were screaming and yelling, and they threw them out of court.
Well, Pat, I want to move on past that because really I want to talk about this career. When you were young, when did it first dawn on you that you were funny? Because you are naturally funny. When did that happen?
In school.
Do you remember the event?
In school. I was a kid in school. They said I light up the room. The teachers were telling my father and my mother, leave him alone. He's lighting up the room. He's got such a wonderful attitude. He's funny. He likes to be funny. Well, he got no time to be funny. This is a nonsense. What kind of attitude is to be funny? You can't make a living and be funny. So now the teacher knew my father didn't understand, nor did my mother. My mother was making her own money behind my father's back. He was making his own money. Everybody was making their own money. And I'm the only son. You would think in the Italian family I'd be the king. Not even close. So my three sisters, God bless them. When my father died, my older sister called me and says, Daddy died, and let's get one thing straight. You can't collect none of his money. I said, first of all, he's got no will. Second of all, when he was alive, I wouldn't ask him for a dime. Why would I take it now that he's dead? And third of all, keep the money. Don't bother me. My mother died, left $1.4 million. Keep the money. I don't want nothing. I'd have scrubbled garbage before I would take money from either one. Because when I needed their help, they were not there. That's the story. And when you tell that, they're trying to cover up because they have no defense. 5 lawyers told them, why don't you shut up and let me talk to your husband? There he is. That's your answer.
Pat, a lot of people who are stand-up comics and a lot of people are comedic actors. When did you realize that you were a stand-up comic? Because nobody's done it any better.
Scott, it came so easy for me. I was funny. I mean, I couldn't wait for the summertime when I was a kid. I was going to the corner. I would do impressions of James Cagney and Al Jolson, and I used to entertain them. It was then when the Second World War ended and we had block parties, I volunteered in every place I could do something. My family didn't like it because my father would rather me be a bad bricklayer than be a great comic. Because my father was a bricklayer. He made a great living 90% of his life. I was terrible. And I told him, this is not for me. I had more fun driving a cab for less money because I was with the people, talking to the people, making the people laugh. What I didn't realize was in the cab, I was becoming a better comedian. My flow was there. And when I had an opportunity, I took advantage of it and I was ready.
Pat, do you consider your big break to be Jackie Gleason?
Yeah. Well, my big place actually was a man called Willie Weber who saw me and said, listen, son, you need guidance. Trust me, and I'll put you on the Gleason show. And I said, okay. I said, what do I got to lose? A year from that day, I went on Jackie Gleason, and then everything opened up. The Copacabana, Vegas, everything opened up. I was making more money. I was getting nervous collecting the money. I never saw this kind of money, $40,000, $50,000 a week. I didn't want to make movies. All I want to do is stand up, making that kind of money, working with Sinatra, Perry Como, Ella Fitzgerald, Nat King Cole. Jack, I got news for you. I mean, working with Ginger Rogers and meeting Cary Grant, a kid with no education from Brooklyn. That's why I tell young kids, drive, go, don't be ashamed. Go for the gold ring. Try, and if you don't try, you'll cry for the rest of your life.
Pat, it's very interesting. You just read off a great laundry list of true celebrities there. Who was your favorite to work with in your career?
Sergio Franchi.
And why was that? For people who don't know.
Have you ever heard of Sergio Franchi?
I haven't. I was going to say, who was that?
He was one of the finest men. We had such a great career together. I opened for him, and we had more laughs. We packed arenas. It was such a great thing. He was more a friend. He lived down the street from me in Vegas, and I worked with all of them, and I respected all of them. But the minute they stepped on my toes, my big mouth, I told them, you can't do that to me. I disrespect you if you do that. I mean, to tell Frank Sinatra when he said to take something out of my act, I said, Frank, I don't tell you what songs to sing. Don't you tell me how to be funny. And he looked at me like he couldn't believe me saying that to him. And if I can tell my father he's out of order, why shouldn't I tell Frank Sinatra?
Which celebrity did you like the least?
Steve and Edie.
Really? Why is that?
They were the worst. They had no respect for anything around them. I mean, Edie Gourmet, they have people working for them, to tell you what to do, when to do it. I says, you don't do that to me. I'm a pro. I go out, I'll do my half hour. Don't you dare put me down, and don't you talk down. I'm not an opening act. I said, because you're not paying me. If you were paying me, I would say, fine. I'm being paid by the hotel, so shut up, and don't you tell me how to run. The hotel told me to do 30 minutes. They're paying me thousands of dollars. So don't you do that to me, and back off. And I couldn't stand it because they try to abuse everybody. They're not nice people. I'll go to my grave saying it.
Pat, you're a very, if people have seen your stand-up or you in any movies, you're a very funny guy. Who makes you laugh today?
Oh, God, you know, I love comedy. The only thing I don't like about comedy is they don't say nothing. Now, years ago, when I grew up, it was a different era, so comedy today has changed. I mean, years ago, you had a guy like Milton Berle, Honey Youngman. They had a flow. They had a rhythm with comedy. You don't see that today. They do 20, 30 minutes looking for a series. We were looking to just survive, and if you didn't get laughs, you were out of a job. Today, they say, well, they make excuse why you didn't get laughs. And the language has hit the wall. The subject matter has hit the wall. There's no more secrets anymore about sex. It's a big joke. There's nothing to look forward to. I love when a man lives with his wife with his girlfriend 10, 12 years, and he decides to get married. They got 2 children, and they walk down the aisle. What hypocrisy is that? And then they go on a honeymoon for $20,000 to do what they were doing for nothing.
That's true. That's Pat, you tell it like it is. And here's what I want to say to that. Anybody who's seen you in stand-up, anybody who's seen you on television, know this is your personality. It's very big. It's very powerful. Who is the real Pat Cooper? Is this the real Pat Cooper?
Yes.
Is there ever a...
I can't wait. I can't wait to say what's on my mind. I went on Tom Snyder in 1980, and I spoke for about 18 minutes and told who I didn't like. And Tom Snyder said, do you know what you're doing? I says, yeah. In case you didn't hear me the first time, I'll repeat it. I said, because there were people who treated me like I wasn't in the building. And everybody says, you lost your career. I said, no, I raised my price $1,000. They says, how come? I said, because controversy breeds money. And I got more work because I did that show. Everybody says, get me that guy that was on Tom Snyder. I want that guy that was on Tom Snyder. And I'm still here. I'm going to be 83 in July. I mean, listen, I've challenged anybody. You think you're funny? I'll tell you what funny is. You and I go up to Utah and know you buddy using their act and to ad-lib for an hour. And let's see who's funny. And I didn't get one offer. I do the roast at the Friars. I close because nobody wants to close. They're scared of me, not because I'm any better, because my confidence scares them, and that's foolish. That's foolish. I'd say, listen, if you don't have confidence, you shouldn't go out on the stage.
I do want to mention this, Pat, while we're in the interview. Pat Cooper now does ringtones. I want to make sure we mention that. Pat Cooper ringtones are available on the internet. Just search Pat Cooper ringtones. That'll come up. And Pat, apparently this came about because you leave very funny voicemail messages. Are you ever off? Is there ever a time where you are not funny?
Well, I tell you, this is another thing that sometimes scares me. Because when I really mean to be, strong and say what's on my mind seriously, it's how I say it, and it comes out funny. It comes out funny for some dumb reason. But that has saved my life. I work around with some of the biggest gangsters. And I told them, I'll take you outside and break your face. They scream. They scream. Because they know, of course they know. But John Gotti's sitting there with Sam Gravana at the Italian restaurant. I said, John, you ever badmouth me again, I'm taking you outside. Don't you ever do that again. And John went along with it, But they loved what I did because that was me. Robert De Niro, I made 2 movies. I drove him crazy. Not because I wanted to. I wanted to make them laugh because you had to wait hours between each scene you had to do. And I took over and I made them laugh. I made everybody laugh. But I knew I would never work with him again. Because nobody ever approached him that way. Nobody approached him because they were scared of him. Oh, you don't talk to Robert. Be very careful. He was at a small roast at the Friars, and the people at the Friars says, nobody takes pictures of Mr. De Niro. They called me on the floor. I was roasting a young man, and before I opened my mouth, I said, ladies and gentlemen, get your cameras and go get De Niro and take his picture. stand up and take that man's picture, and when you finish, sit down. And they screamed, and he laughed. And you know what he said to me? How do you do that? I said, Bobby, it's called talent. Not arrogance, it's called talent. If Don Rickles would have done it, you would have gave him a standing ovation. So cut the crap. And I love Don Rickles, by the way.
Well, you know, Pat, that's a very interesting thing. You mentioned Don Rickles there, and there are some other great comedians out there who are certainly no funnier than you, but maybe they have a little more visibility. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think luck has something to do with it. I think being in the right place at the right time. I mean, Johnny Carson fell in love with Don Rickles. Sinatra fell in love with him. These guys didn't fall in love with me because my delivery seemed to be a little bit like a stabbing. And they said, this guy is saying things. I mean, see, Rickles was known as jabbing everybody and kidding around. They went there to see that. When they came to see me, they said, is this guy, he made us laugh, but is he telling it? Because when you walk off the theater after you see me, they say he's saying something in his comedy. He is saying something. When you analyze what Pat Cooper did an hour and you start to break it down, this guy's telling us something that no one's got the nerve to say. He's saying it in comedy. He's painting a picture. But the people on television are scared of me. I don't want him on because we don't know what he's going to say. That's a lot of bull. They don't want me on because they know my reputation, and they know that I'm a kind of guy, you want to talk, let's say it the way it is. And if I don't like somebody, I say it. I don't say it because, well, I'll get more money if I say they're nice. Listen, if I got to tell my mother and father you're full of garbage, you mean I can't tell a stranger? Give me a break.
Does anything scare you, Pat? Anything?
Yes.
What's
yes.
that?
Yes, lying scares me, and people robbing my money for no reason at all, because if they need it, I'd give it to them. I've been beaten by the best. But I kept my mouth shut because I looked at the good things that happened to me. I had a guy rip me off for $20,000. I got a lawyer, and the lawyer turns around and says, all right, I'll help you. The lawyer cost me $20,000 not to collect the $20,000 I was suing for. So I got screwed both times.
You know,
but
Pat,
I made fun of the situation.
You know, Pat, I got to say this at this point in the interview because I guarantee you there are people out there in the listening audience, because when we started this interview, you started big and you say that's who you are and no apologies about it. But there are people, we talked about your family, your career, celebrities, reality television, all this stuff. I would bet there are people out there who don't know what you're serious about and what you've been making a joke of.
Now, I think over the years they know what I'm serious about, because when you continually say the same thing about a subject, and when you continue to mention the name 20, 30 times, they know. The only thing is, and this is a sad thing, many people wish they could say what's on their mind, whether it's your mother, father, or the priest. You got to say what's on your mind. The priest says to me, do you believe in God? I said, I believe in a spirit. How can I believe in God when we got priests screwing around and embarrassing the cloth? What are you people joking me? Why are we hiding under the carpet? This is a disgrace. How dare you tell me that? That's not God's bringing up. And I don't like to talk about politics. I don't like to talk about religion. But give me a break. Give me a break. Now we turn around, a guy becomes a cardinal, and we're going to say, what a wonderful thing. What about those who hurt these kids? Give me a break.
I think people are with you 100% on that one, Pat. A name I want to throw at you we haven't talked about, Howard Stern. You appeared on his show for years and years and years, and now, the last I heard...
I'm telling you about Howard Stern. Howard Stern is a professional bully. Now, let me tell you why. Howard Stern got away with a lot of things that he's hurt people personally and walked away. I mean, the networks, nobody sued him personally. He walked away, so he thought he was the maven, that he can walk on water. I got to a point saying, somebody's got to stop this guy. Now, he turns around, he gets married a second time, and he's, and he tries to make up with his children to say he's really not the bad person that they make him, because now he wants to go Hollywood. I was on the same show that he put down a Chevy Chase, That Chevy Chase says, if I see you, I'll kill you. How dare you wake me up at 4 in the morning? Meanwhile, a year or so later, he gets married a second time. What does he do? He invites Chevy Chase to his wedding. And he moves out to the Hamptons. He wants to be with the crowd. Now he's going to go on America Has Talent. Look at the strength. Here's where he's becoming a bigger bully. He says, you want me? It's going to come out of New York. Howie Mandel has to sell his house to come to that show in New York. That's number one. Number two, he's already made a statement that you mothers will bring your kids on this show. You better tell them that they're going to lose. And when they do lose, do not come to me and cry because I don't give a damn. Here's a bully. There's a bully. The people didn't put their kids on. He's already warning them. This is a professional bully. And no one's got the nerve to tell him, and I'll go to my grave telling you that. He doesn't have a decent, giving heart. He's hurt people, and badly. He's talked about the dead and walked away from it. If you and I did it, we'd have been in jail. He's gotten away with a lot of things, and the people should not support that show because he's on it. Howie Mandel is a great talent, and he's got to sell the house because Mr. King said, I'm going to do it in New York. I'd have told Mr. King to go to hell.
Pat, I just want to ask you this one question. Was there a moment after all those years on with Howard Stern that was the breaking point? Was there something we didn't see on camera or on radio that you said, this is it, I'll never be on the show again?
Because, I listen to me, it helped me. If I told you it didn't help me, I'm a liar. It helped me to a point, but I was more helpful to him. I became the number one maven on that show. And every time he stepped out of line, I told him so. Because all his staff, everybody was terrified of him. I says, my God, you're a bully. And he tells everybody he loves me. I said, you don't love me because you're hurting people and you shouldn't do this. I gave him some great shows. But you know something? Now he's just scared of me because he went on national radio and said to everybody, I don't want nobody talking about him. Well, he's a hypocrite because whenever he goes on vacation, he plays my tapes. And people keep calling and say, when you're going to put him on? He's scared because he can't take the truth.
Pat, final question as we're getting tight on time here. What does the future hold for you? Is there anything left that you haven't done? Okay.
Yes.
What is it?
People ask me what I do for, what's my hobby? What do I do for relaxation? Are you ready?
Go ahead.
I tell them I rehearse dying. Why do I say that? Because that's inevitable. So what the hell are we fighting, climbing mountains, killing each other in the armies and in the navies when we're going to die? How dare these brilliant guys put us at wars? How dare they? This is wrong. Now the gasoline's going to be $5. Meanwhile, Mr. Cheney's putting that money in his pocket. What do you think we don't know? What? Who's got the stock? All these gosh damn guys got the inside. I don't mind paying $5 for gasoline. I could afford it. What about these people who can't afford $2 for a gallon of gas? What about those people?
Pat, we ran. It's been an illuminating time. If people want more of the Pat Cooper humor, the book is How Dare You Say, How Dare Me. My goodness, if you're interested, go out and pick it up. Pat, as I say, you're a very funny gentleman. I was delighted to have you on, and I hope
Listen, do me a favor. I don't want to interrupt you. If they read the book, and it's not the money, please believe me. If they like the book, go on Amazon and say, I like the book. That's all I want from them. I want to get on at one of the best books out there. That's all. I don't want no money. I didn't do it for money. I want people to say, you know something, what a wonderful ride this book gave us. It's got everything in it.
Pat, as I say, thank you so much for coming by, and I hope you come back in the future.
Anytime. God bless.
Pat, take care.